Hey, Michelle, how's it going today?
Good, Lindsay. How are you?
Ooh, I'm good, but I have a deep question for you here. You ready?
Ooh, okay. Oh gosh. What is it?
Ah, well, Michelle, has anyone ever underestimated you in your life? Ooh,
Ooh, that is a deep question.
getting deep right
Uh,
from the start today.
yes. Has anyone ever underestimated me? I think so. I think unfortunately, I think that that's just like a fast fact of life. Some people might not think the best of people or so I guess in some ways, maybe in my moving away, when I moved to New York, people
Mhm.
thinking, oh, maybe that I would move back or thinking,
Ah,
so certain things like that. But
interesting.
not too bad. I mean, I felt pretty supportive, but I'd have to think of a even more specific example. But what about you? Can you think of anything? I mean, maybe as a
Sure.
business owner, you've had this.
Yeah, I don't have any specific times, but certainly I think definitely I've been underestimated and overestimated for that matter at different times in my life. And I've done the same thing to other people, right? It's just the human brain, the way it works is we jump to conclusions as quickly as we can. That's the way we evolved to protect ourselves as humans, right? So if we get a sense that maybe someone won't be able to do something, we jump to that conclusion instead of questioning that, right?
Interesting.
Which is a bad
Yes,
habit.
it
Yeah.
is, it
Yeah.
is.
Mhm.
So, but today we are going to answer a listener question based on another episode of All Ears English that we did in the past. So, I'm
Mhm.
excited for this one because it's kind of like a part 2.
Oh,
Um,
yes. Yes,
yeah,
yes.
this question was from YouTube, and it's a quick one. It's from QUQ no, excuse me, that's a W. QWQW0424.
Yep.
And the question is just, can you do an episode for the prefix for the prefix under
Yep.
that the opposite
Of
of
over.
over?
Yeah, because we did another episode, right? Yeah, on
Yeah.
over, and again, what was that episode name? What was the name
So
of that
this
other
was
episode?
this was All Ears English. Don't overdo it with textbook English. So we had a
Yes.
lot of ones with over. So definitely after you listen to this one, listen to that one because I mean under and over they're opposites and these are all super common. So they'll be very useful to you.
And they usually come together, as I showed you at the top of the episode. Overestimate,
Uh-huh.
underestimate,
Uh-huh.
right?
Uh-huh.
They
Yeah,
usually come together. You need to be able to say both, and usually and often use both in a sentence, right? So,
absolutely.
Michelle, let's get into under as a prefix. What does it mean?
Yeah, well, it means lower, below, or less.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
yeah, generally. So today we're going to focus on verbs. It doesn't always, but here's what's interesting. It doesn't always work out with that meaning. So this is where it becomes tricky with prefixes. Is sometimes they're just part of the word. So I was thinking about the word
Oh, yeah.
understand.
Oh, true, true.
That
Mhm.
you can't really logic your way through that one, that it's just a prefix. It's
It's
not
not a
really a
prefix.
prefix here, it's just the whole word, but how in the world are we supposed to know that?
That's a great question. It's a really we never thought about that, but it's true. I'm sure there are other ones. Are there any others that we know of that, act that
That
way?
just
It's
don't
actually a
work.
word. It looks like a prefix, but it's a word.
Ooh, you know what? We should do a whole episode about that. Where
I
it's
agree.
yeah, where you think that I mean, it could be about a lot of different prefixes. We could just have a list of things that it seems like a prefix, but
Mhm.
it's just
Yeah.
the word.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
oh
Well,
yeah,
I mean,
that's
it
tricky.
kinda makes sense if you think about it, if you test it, if you say the word stand, does that work on its own? No, it doesn't work on it like, understand, right? We take out the prefix. The word stand doesn't make sense, to tell me what I'm
In a
saying
context,
in
right.
the context. It
Right.
really
The
doesn't.
word stand, of course, is a word,
Of
but
course. Yeah, in this
but
context. Mhm.
if you're looking at a sentence and you see understand and then you try to take stand in itself, it doesn't make sense. So that could be a strategy. But yeah,
Yes.
some of it is just practice, but we can talk about that more another time.
Yes. Michelle, what would be let's get into some examples then. Some examples.
Yeah,
Yeah?
these ones do work as a
Yes.
prefix.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's what we're going to focus on today. So Lindsay, let's start with underestimate actually because we
Okay.
already talked
Yeah.
about that in the beginning. So let's start with that one. So in the other episode we did do overestimate.
Mhm.
So this goes to show you this one you can kind of go back and forth between and just switch them. So
Mhm.
what is underestimate?
Well, this is the idea that we Uh, we think that something or someone will do something less well than they might
Mhm.
do, right? Someone is less capable. Okay.
Mhm. Right.
So
Yeah, yeah.
below. Yeah. Mhm. Yes.
Exactly. So I think this is often used to talk about potential and what people think others can do. So,
Mhm.
for example, I underestimated her singing voice. She is a powerhouse. So,
Mhm.
what does
Mhm.
that mean? What did I think?
I thought that her singing voice was less powerful, less beautiful. I didn't think she had a good singing voice, but she was a powerhouse. You see this a lot with I feel like with female singers who maybe are smaller, physically smaller, right?
Oh,
Like
interesting. Yeah, you wouldn't expect like a really big voice.
exactly. I don't know what Lady Gaga's journey was like. Maybe she was not underestimated, but I feel like sometimes when you're physically smaller, you could be underestimated. And if for anything, not just your singing voice, but in a lot around like your capabilities or something sometimes. Don't you think at least in American culture, I think that can happen sometimes,
Well, I
which
think that this is
angers me.
also yeah, this is also, I mean, the very, popular topic for things like movies. I mean, the underdog story, this
Yeah.
is huge in our culture about the underdog. They were underestimated, and look what they did. Even something I don't know why this is the first thing that comes to my mind, but the the movie Babe.
Uh
Remember that movie? Because I recently watched it with my son, and yeah,
yeah.
he was underestimated, and then it
Right,
turns
right,
out he
right.
was this amazing, as a pig, and it turns out he had
Right.
this amazing talent, but I mean, this is just such a huge topic in our culture, I think.
It's so true. It's huge. It's huge. Or here's another sample sentence. I should have bought more salmon. I really underestimated how much we need. Now this is about guessing. Maybe you're hosting a party. You think you're going to need 3 pounds of salmon. You actually needed 6 pounds of salmon, right?
Right.
Okay.
So this one is a little bit different than,
Yeah.
this is a little bit more practical just about the
Yeah.
numbers. This is not you're not thinking anything less of the
Yeah.
salmon, right? We're not
Hmm.
under this
Yeah.
is just about amount,
Right.
right?
I underestimated the salmon.
We're not
Yes.
judging the salmon.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, going back to the conversation about physical height, though, often you ever like find out that a star is actually
Yeah.
on the shorter side, and you're kind of shocked. Like, Reese
Right.
Witherspoon is supposed to be quite short, and I never would have imagined that because the way they put them in the movies, you don't really notice, and we know
Right.
that Tom Cruise
But that's
is
who I
quite.
was thinking of,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. And it's just funny because we see them as these larger than life figures. We
Yeah.
don't see them as physically shorter. It's just I don't know, it's just fascinating. It's
It is always
fascinating.
fun. Like, every once in a while, I'll see a celebrity on TV, and then I'll think, "How tall is that celebrity?" And I look it up. It's always
Exactly.
kinda surprising.
Kind of just a human height, like a 5'4"
Right.
or a five
Right.
five. It's not
It's like,
like
"Oh,
yeah,
really? That person, I just see them on TV, they're larger than life. They could actually just stand next to me and be" it's just funny. It's
strange,
funny to
right?
think about, right? Yeah.
It's really strange, yeah. Interesting. Okay, we're back. So, Michelle, what would be another example of the under used as a prefix for our listeners?
Okay. Well, we're actually gonna go back up, because we
Okay.
skipped this one because we wanted to do
Oops.
underestimate.
Let's
No,
go.
that's okay. So
Mhm.
this is underplay. So
Yes.
this is interesting. So this means to behave in a way that shows something is not as important as the reality.
Interesting. Yeah, and this one is not as much in my I usually say downplay. Does that
Ah.
mean the same thing, would you say? Downplay,
Sounds
underplay?
very yeah, it's yeah, underplay. Yeah. You know what? That
Mhm.
one I think is a little bit more
More common?
common, but I would
Yeah.
hear underplay too. Yeah, so I'm
Mhm.
looking in the
Yeah,
AI overview now to yeah, that
yeah,
oh, that is where I got it. To make something seem less important than it actually is, or
yeah.
to give it too
Well,
little attention.
I mean, our listeners should know both. They should know they have options.
Mhm,
You can say downplay something or you can say
mhm,
underplay. Um, is this used a lot with politics? I would say so, right? You want to downplay or underplay a theme. Maybe you've been
mhm.
pinned as being like pro this, pro that, but you're trying to get the broad electorate on your side. So you have to downplay or underplay.
Right, 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 right. So you could say she tried to underplay her negative comments by drawing attention to the missteps of her opponent. I must I must have
Yes.
written this a few weeks ago.
Oh, right, right, right. Yeah, so drawing attention away from something to distract, right? This is what politicians do for sure. Okay,
Mhm,
so underplay is a less common one, but good to know. What
mhm.
else, Michelle? What are some other ones we should
Okay.
know?
So this is undercharge. So in the other episode we did overcharge,
Hmm.
but you can also be undercharged. So Lindsay, what does it mean if you're undercharged?
I don't actually know what this means. I don't know what this means. I never use this. Oh, I see what you mean. You mean with money. Okay, I thought you meant somehow with energy or something. I don't know what I like a
Oh, no, no,
battery.
no.
My
Sorry.
battery's
No, I
undercharged.
think
Okay.
that's funny.
Yeah, to be okay, when someone undercharges you, right? So
Mhm.
you would then be undercharged. They didn't charge you what you were supposed to pay, right? You were
Right.
charged less than what you should have paid. So she undercharged me. I'm going to tell her to adjust the bill. And this is always a test of your true honesty, right? If
Yes, I
you
know, I
you
know.
know, but
I mean, it happens to everybody. Sometimes you look
yeah,
at the bill and you're like, "Oh, they didn't
yeah,
put my coffee on there," or,
yeah,
they
it's
I mean, yeah,
yeah.
do you try yeah, what do you do, Lindsay? It's
Yeah, it
yeah.
depends on the scenario, but it's truly sometimes if I know that the person might get in trouble, then I really wanna make sure, if it's, I don't know, like a waiter or waitress and they're going to end up having to pay the difference or something,
Mhm.
then for sure, but this is moments in life that are presented to us here are a chance to get to know who we are, right?
Yeah.
These moments, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
I've definitely told people that they've undercharged before because
Yeah.
I have a my conscience eats away at me. I'm
Of
not saying I've
course.
done it every single time, but
Yeah.
I'm not very yeah. So I think it's something about I'm
You
very
have a
honest.
strong
I'm like
conscience. Yeah.
yeah, I'm like my dad in that way. He can't
That's
very
good.
strong conscience. Yeah, but I'm not saying I would do it every time. So there are, yeah, but a lot of times I would. But sometimes when that happens, then they just tell me, "Thank you so much for telling us, and it's okay. Don't worry about it."
That's good.
So
But then you win. You're a big winner because you feel good about yourself, right?
exactly, and you got
And then
something
you
for
get something
free.
for free. I think it's a really good way to go through life, just to have that conscience, that inner, like, I don't know, that inner center of gravity of
Mhm.
what's right. It's the right thing to do, right?
Yeah.
In my
Well, and
opinion.
then yeah, I mean, yeah, I try, and then, I forget the other point that I was gonna make with
Okay.
it.
Well,
So, let's move on.
yeah, I love this next one. This is very high level. I feel like this is a quality of a C1 level speaker when they're able to use this word. What is it, Michelle?
Mhm. Undermine.
Undermine, to make something weaker. This could be over a long period of time, and it might be a little subtle below the surface, not outwardly clear, but it's happening below
Mhm.
the surface.
Mhm. I just can you overmine something?
No, I don't think that's a word.
Yeah, exactly, but,
No.
I was just thinking, is that technically a prefix?
I don't know actually technically, but I think it's an important word for
It's
our
an
listeners
important
to
word
know.
to learn. Okay, good.
That's
So
the most important thing. I don't think it actually is, but I want our listeners to know this. It doesn't matter what kind of part of speech it is. I think it's
it's a good
a
one to know.
marker of a high level speaker. So let's make sure we know what it means. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So to make something weaker, so sometimes over a long time or not outwardly. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
here's an example. He didn't mean to undermine her when she was talking. She seemed really embarrassed. So what do you think that
Mm-hmm.
what would that mean?
Oh my gosh. So he challenged her in a way that kind of degraded her position in the eyes of others. That's how I see it. Right. So when you
Mhm.
undermine someone, you're kind of poking holes. Maybe you're challenging them. You are lessening their status
Mhm.
in a way. Right.
Their ego, yeah.
And not just ego, but the message. Let's
Right,
say
true.
she's giving a speech and there's 100 people watching her, and he's asking questions that are not honest questions. They're actually just sort of meant to make the audience question her whole argument. That would be undermining her, right?
Yeah. Ew,
Yeah.
that's
And
sticky.
we can see this in larger societal shifts too. You could say a government could undermine democracy hypothetically, right?
Yeah.
By doing certain things that loosen it or just degrade it in a sense. This could be used in a lot of ways beyond just the interpersonal, Michelle, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and do you think you can accidentally undermine someone?
Yeah, I think you can accidentally, unintentionally, and then maybe they bring it up to you, and then you apologize. You say you didn't realize that you were doing that. I think you could unintentionally do it. Yeah, by
Yeah.
asking certain questions. What do you think, Michelle?
Yeah, I think so too. If you're asking very pointed questions in front of a large group of people and
Mhm.
you're genuinely asking them, you didn't really think that you were undermining them, but it came off in a way that sounded like you were.
Super high level term, and yeah, it sounds great. It sounds high level, it sounds intellectual. So guys, use this term as much as you can, okay?
Yes,
Good.
yes.
All right.
All right, so we are going to do a role play in just a second, but we want to remind you guys, please hit the follow button wherever you are listening to All Ears English so you never miss anything from us.
Yes, good. Hit that follow button. Michelle, now we are in a coffee shop. All right. We're
Okay,
in a
and we
coffee
are good.
shop.
We're
Mhm.
going over the bill, so here we
Okay.
go.
All right.
Mhm.
Oh no, I think she undercharged us for the coffee.
Oh, actually, she told me she was giving us a discount because she knows our boss.
Nice. I always underestimate how nice people can be.
It's okay. She meant to underplay it. She didn't do it for attention.
Yeah. Hey, Michelle, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to undermine you earlier when you were sharing your opinion about our customer service line or about our customer service line. It really is a good idea.
Oh, thanks, Lindsay. I appreciate that.
See, feels like a very common conversation topic, right? Here, what we're talking about, we're moving in and out of topics.
Yep,
Very natural. Yeah.
absolutely. So let's go through it. So you said, oh no, I think she undercharged us for the coffee, meaning she charged us less than it actually cost.
Yep. And then I said, nice. I always underestimate how nice people can be. Right.
Hmm.
And yeah. And then
Yep.
you said, it's okay. She meant to underplay it. She didn't do
Mhm.
it for attention. So what does that mean? What did she meant to?
She didn't wanna draw attention to it. She just kind of did it in a smooth way without saying too much.
That's nice. Yeah, good.
Mhm.
And then I said, yeah, hey Michelle, I'm sorry. And I'm going back to change the subject. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I didn't mean to undermine you earlier. So you can
Mhm.
undermine someone's argument or you can undermine someone, right, Michelle?
Yes. Yes,
Yes. Or you can
absolutely.
undermine something like a system, a set of rules, something like that. Right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Right. So you said you didn't mean to undermine me, and I said, "That's okay, I appreciate that."
Yes. So, I mean, I think the takeaway today, Michelle, it doesn't really matter whether these are prefixes. We're still going to learn the word. We're going to understand what we're saying. I want you guys to learn these as words, not as separate pieces, a prefix and the
Yeah.
rest of the word, right?
Right.
So, I want you to learn underestimate or undermine because these are markers of high level speakers. Okay.
Exactly. You
Hmm.
know, knowing the prefix is helpful when you're trying to guess the meaning of something.
True.
So it can
True.
definitely be helpful in certain ways. So just know that sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. And we can look into this more another day, but something to be aware of.
Yeah, exactly. So instead of spending time with charts and prefixes and suffixes and full words, instead go out and connect and use these and think
Yes,
about what are the topics
absolutely.
where something is being undermined or someone is being undermined. How do you address that? How do you talk through that with someone? That is what's
Mhm.
interesting about learning English is the connection. Yeah?
Yes, absolutely. All right, I love it. Thank you so much to our listener for that question. And guys, remember, listen to that other episode. Don't overdo it with textbook English to hear the over ones.
Nice. Very good. I'll see you there. Take care,
All
Michelle.
right.
Bye.
Bye.